Hi everybody, and welcome to Storm Dance Television. In this video I would like to raise importance to a question that I've been asking myself for more than a decade now. What would change in breaking if trained judges become the majority? And I believe we will create a culture-wide shift toward quality control. The breaking community has grown from decades through passion, raw talent and informal peer validation. Battles have evolved into global competitions, and the gap between cultural depth and evaluative clarity has definitely widened. One of the key tensions in the current state of dance culture lies in who gets to judge the events, and then of course how they do it. Today many dancers who sit on judging panels rely on their status, reputation or even their personal taste. They are mostly respected for their craft as performers, but not necessarily for their brilliance and using structured interpretive methods. In many cases they don't even acknowledge shared principles and values and think they are hired as a judge because of their subjective tastes. But what if this changed? What if the majority of judges were trained, certified and committed to a common framework that mirrors the values of the entire art form? I want to outline quickly in 10 points what consequences such a shift would have for the integrity, growth, and most importantly, the sustainability of breaking culture. So here we go. Number one, we will create a real meritocracy. The more trained judges there are, the more likely it becomes that the best performances win, not the most familiar names. This levels the playing field, rewards innovation, and motivates newcomers. It strengthens the entire competitive ecosystem. Two, we would decentralize excellence. Currently, a small number of well-known figures dominate the international judging scene. A broader base of certified judges would allow more local communities to host high-quality events without needing to fly in big names. This decentralization would democratize access to fair competitions around the world. Three, there would be a new cultural norm, knowing the craft of judging. If certified judges outnumbered untrained ones, it would certainly create a cultural shift. Why? Because judging would no longer be seen as a side benefit of fame, but as a craft in its own right. Dancers would understand that judging requires training, just like dancing does. The days of "I've been around so I know" would be replaced by "I've studied how to evaluate so I'm ready." Four, there will be more respect through competence and not just status. Right now, many judges are chosen for their names, but this doesn't guarantee fair outcomes or useful feedback. In a landscape dominated by trained judges, credibility would stem from demonstrated skill and not legacy. Dancers would respect the result, even in defeat, because they trust the process and not just the persona. Number five, there will be fewer disputes and a lot more learning. One of the most damaging aspects of weak judging is the backlash that we have. We deal with confusion, frustration, and even community division. When judges apply consistent, transparent systems, disagreements become discussions and not drama. Dancers will receive feedback they can use to grow, not just opinions they are forced to accept. Number six, we'll have protection of the culture from within. A culture dominated by trained judges is harder to exploit. When judging becomes professionalized and systematized from inside the community, it becomes much harder for outside forces, media, institutions, or any other opportunists to distort its values. The culture will gain self-regulation and resilience. Seven, we will have elevated event standards, because then event organizers would be held to higher expectations. With a pool of trained judges available, there's no excuse for random selection or popularity-based panels. Battles would become more consistent in format, more credible in outcome, and very important, much more attractive to both the dancers and the sponsors. Eight, there will be a clearer pathways for dancer development. Because when judges work with the same framework of values, dancers can actually map their growth. They can understand why a decision was made and what to improve. This coherence is impossible when each judge invents their own values. Trained judges create clarity and not chaos. Nine, we will develop a long-term cultural stewardship. Because if judging remains informal and personal, it dies with the person. If it is structured, documented, and taught, it lasts. The majority of trained judges would become living archives of cultural knowledge and contribute to its transmission with integrity and care. Number 10, it would be the end of everyone thinks they can judge. Because when trained judging becomes the norm, it becomes much harder to bluff. Just like nobody claims to be a DJ without touching the decks, or a dancer never dancing, the same social pressure would apply to judging. You need to put in the work. So, if trained and certified judges outnumbered those who rely solely on reputation or intuition, it would surely mark a turning point in breaking culture. Fairer outcomes, stronger pedagogy, cultural protection, and increased professionalism would follow. Most importantly, it would establish something breaking has long needed: community-driven quality control. And it would give respect and authority to those who treat judging seriously, like any other person who dedicates their time and energy to a passion, with commitment, discipline, and love for the culture. So peace everybody, and see you soon.